Good evening. It is Monday, June the 20th, almost 8:30 p.m. This is meteorologist Shay Gibson bringing you a preliminary forecast for the Summer Sailstice Race starting this Friday, 6:30 p.m. at the CYC starting line and heading offshore for a 100-mile race. There's also a billfish tournament that's ongoing during this as well, which gives all the sailors an opportunity to fish and take your time out there. So a few different options that you have. You can either go out, you can fish, then sail, or you can sail and troll and get some time credit as you wish. And then also you can sail and then come back in and fish as well. So there's different options, and really it's kind of hit and miss out there with the fish unless you're getting all the way out the Gulf Stream and going for the mahi and the tuna and whatnot. But there's all kinds of fish, even tarpon are biting right now near the jetty. So I do know that there's a lot of activity ongoing. There are other tournaments in the area that are ongoing as well. So it's kind of to each his or her own. Just bring the right bait, right? So let's go ahead and get me down to the corner. We definitely need to talk about the weather. First, let's take a look at the core website. This is the splash page for the home page. When you come down, you see all the race information. It's not too late to register if you'd like to do that now. Go ahead and get it in and get to be a part of it. Looks like it's going to be a good race. There's going to be plenty of wind. I know that. Looks like Saturday could get a little bit burly. We'll talk about that just a second. Here's the notice of race, the race instructions, sponsored by Ashley Yachts, of course. And then we come down, and this is a look at the race course itself. So you can see the triangle that's built out. This more like a polygon, but either way, going through the jetties. Of course, you can fish the jetties, come all the way out here. It looks like to the 41004, the Edisto buoy. And so that, that area out there is not bad to fish. There's some other areas inside where you could let's drop some lines and then hopefully even do some trolling if you have the right kind of bait. So let's go ahead and take a look at the WPC surface map. And what we're looking at here is this is Thursday. I want to build this forecast because I want to draw a little bit. And what we're looking at is this Great Lakes high pressure right here, right? So we have this cold front, this backdoor front, I should say, dropping down into the southeast region. Now, this front does hold some energy through Thursday, so there's always a chance of this inland troughing, this Piedmont troughing along the southerly flow that's coming into the coast to fire off a few storms, make some instability. And then as we get into Friday, this is where things get a little burly because that front starts to fizzle. And then what we're left with is, let me see if I can get rid of that other, yep, there we go. This front starts to fizzle as it comes down. I mean, basically the parent low has dried. It's not there anymore. There's a little bit of a short wave connection here with this inland trough near the Outer Banks coastline in southeast North Carolina. So a segment of a front that still exists there. And basically it, see if I can get rid of all this. It creates a situation where this high pressure is stronger than that front, and it doesn't necessarily get held back behind it. So what ends up happening is you probably have another separate lobe of high pressure that develops out here in the Atlantic as it conjoins with its Appalachian counterpart coming from the Ohio Valley. And in a nutshell, what that means is this easterly gradient is going to start working its way into our area Friday afternoon to Friday evening. That's not very well modeled right now, but that's typically what would happen in this situation. This is where the human element will come in to understand that high pressure overriding and overcutting and back into the coast. We say overcutting, it's really overbiting that surface wind from the south, and eventually it's going to turn east. So that's kind of what we're going to be starting off with, this modest east flow, maybe even east southeast to get started in the race. Now, as we get forward into time, we get into Saturday. This is where my concerns are for the winds to come up, and the models are only grabbing somewhat moderate values in the 12 to 16 knot ranges. But this gradient is probably going to build down just like we usually see those wedges do, and we get that backdoor sea breezing effect along the immediate coast. Offshore can be even stronger than the coast. So my concern is stay as close to inshore as you can on Saturday because that wind's really going to be picking up, especially out off the coast where that northeast gradient is stronger, especially closer to that front. That high is really hugging down along the backside of that front. This is where the gradients can be the strongest. So I would say for Saturday, I'd caution to maybe plan on being a little closer to inshore where the swells are not going to be as great. And we'll look at the wave forecast too. That's not really picking up on this either, but it will build according to that. But as we get into Sunday, that high pressure really kind of drops down into the southeast region. It really expands southwards and it starts to weaken, but that easterly flow stays in place. It just weakens to modest values, so it'll be pleasant easterlies on that day to get back, sail downwind back into the coast if you stay out for the entire race. Main thing here is understanding that we still are 5, 6 days out from Saturday and Sunday. A lot can change between now and then, but that's sort of the context of where I'm coming from. I'm going to use the Charleston Corp buoy. This one's about 18 nautical miles or 18 miles out off the coast for a point forecast. This seems to be a middle value. If we take a look, we go out in time Thursday with a moderate to fairly strong southwest or southwest wind ahead of that front. Then the front pushes down. We see the switch to easterly winds by the afternoon, ramping up a little bit. We may get a little spurt of moderate winds out there right near the race time. Typically, it comes up in the mid to late afternoon hours when it arrives like this, then it fades as we get into the night, and then it usually calms down even a bit more overnight. But as we get into the morning Saturday, this is where the winds start to pick back up because that gradient builds back in. It's all relative to radiation from the sun versus land cooling or cooling at nighttime over the water. That's sort of the difference in the gradient with northeast, east northeast winds. It can remain strong offshore, but generally it's lighter at nighttime simply because it's cool air advecting down over the warmer waters, but there's no heat driving it, so the instability factor is not as great at nighttime. So we can hope for that for the overnight portion of at least going into Friday night and Saturday night, that it'll lay down. The swell will probably come up during the day and lay down a little bit at night. But looking at this is just based on the GFS alone right now. I can't even get the euro out that far as a localized, wave forecast or anything like that. But let's take a look at the GFS and kind of how this all works out. So we see as we get into Friday morning, looks like we have some shortwave energy that may give us a few showers early, and then as we get into the day, that easterly wind starts to build down the coast. We could still have some residual clouding, some showers in the area by the time of the race start, but otherwise it may just be partly cloudy with a little bit of energy off that front still lingering overhead. But you can see that gradient really building in, and even uh, partially remaining offshore overnight. So it kind of diminishes as we get into Saturday morning. Then it kind of builds back in the daytime. You can see how that gradient really surges as we get into Saturday. So that's kind of what we're looking at now. The GFS and the Euros, they never really pick up this northeast, east northeast wedge as well as what to be expected, but that's going to be the case. So just a quick heads up, this Corp, the CHR 60 wave or the Corp 2 buoy is not working right now as far as a significant wave height, which is really unfortunate because this is key information. This one went offline a few weeks ago. It broke loose from its mooring, and it ended up being picked up by the Charleston Pilots Association. So they were able to retrieve it and put it back into operation. This one, I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about. It might just be the instrumentation's bad on this one, but it's still attached, which is a good thing. And they may be scheduled to come out. Hopefully, they'll go out and perform maintenance on this before the weekend. That would be kind of ideal because it'd be good to have that data. Otherwise, we're stuck with the data way out at 41004, which is still good. It's a good point of reference, and we're about 5 seconds with wave height about almost 5 feet, or going on 5 feet if you round it up. And as we get to the nearshore wave forecast, I'm going to pick that buoy as a forecast spot, and you can see here how the wave period as we get into the weekend stays around 5 seconds. That may go up to 7 to 9 seconds as we get into Saturday and that northeast wedge builds. Now the significant wave height, it doesn't go out that far on the GFS wave arc 10-minute forecast, but the National Weather Prediction Service, like basically you go all the way out to the weekend, and they're keeping the waves around 2.5 to 3 feet. But I think that we're going to probably see those waves come up higher on Saturday, probably 4 to 5 feet at the very least with that wind. If not, farther offshore, maybe even be 6 feet. And I'm not kidding you on that. When that northeast wedge kicks in and you get those winds that drive down into the 18 to 22 knot ranges and even 23 to 24 offshore, you start to get some swell building out there. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. And if you even look at the Surfline forecast at the beaches, you can see they're calling for 3 feet, and that's along the beaches, right? So, offshore, beyond 5 to 10 nautical miles is probably going to be double, and that's kind of my prediction, my look at it. So just be aware of that, as just to kind of cap it off for a preliminary, we look at the forecast to start. We're looking at east southeast winds, probably starting around 9 to 13 knots, maybe building 11 to 15 before falling off back to 8 to 12 in the night, and maybe even going down overnight, maybe even backing northeast to 6 to 10 knots. It doesn't look that bad. Friday night, as we wake up Saturday morning, that's when the gradient starts to build back in, and we're looking at east northeast winds cranking up, and I'm going to call it, instead of this model, the GFS holding around 13, 14, I'm calling 18 to 22 with possible more, a couple of knots extra than that. So be prepared for a little bit of a rough afternoon Saturday. As we get into Sunday, looks like that east wind sticks around for another day. It's really holding onto the gradient a little bit longer. It could do that surge as we see it late morning to early afternoon, but hopefully most people will be wrapping up the race by then. And that's kind of the forecast. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of rain each day. I'd say Friday, Saturday, probably have about a 25% chance of showers, probably more localized inland. You may see a line or two develop offshore from time to time, and nothing severe at this moment. I will be calling the Weather Service Charleston to talk about that with them as we get closer to the race time to see if they have anything on the radar as far as severity goes. Let's see. Heat looks like it'll cool down. So we get a break from the heat, especially offshore. You're over the water. It's a little cooler out there. It's about 84, 85 degrees in the shelf waters. So Friday looks like 91 for a high, 88 for Saturday, and 91 for Sunday. That's due to that northerly element and that wind and that easterly wind that's cooler than the surrounding environment. So that'll be good. Not much moonlight out there for each night, so we're going to be looking at going on a waning crescent moon at this point, as third quarter was today, and then by this weekend we'll be heading towards a new moon, but it'll be a waning crescent moon at that point. So not a lot there for lighting, so you have to kind of come up with your own. But other than that, that'll do it for this forecast. I'll be planning on being at the skippers meeting this Thursday, 6:30 at the yacht club, and I hope to see many of you there. And I'll be probably putting out a formal forecast, not a preliminary, either tomorrow night or Wednesday. And then I'll see how things look and see if it looks consistent. But otherwise, you all take care. See you Thursday night, and good luck for everybody at the race this weekend. Till next time, bye bye.